Hi everyone, I would like you to go ahead and pause this video and make sure you have your science notebook and a pen or a pencil if you don't already have those materials on hand. If you do, let's go ahead and get going. Before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and share our learning target today, but let me go ahead and get out of the way. So, our learning target is I can explain information fossils tell us about past and present organisms. We are going to learn all about fossils today, and in fact, I would like you to go ahead and label a new page in your science notebook with that word fossils, which is right here if you need it. So if you need to go ahead and pause this video, title the next page Fossils. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys our painted lady larvae and our Wisconsin fast plants for today. Before you get to draw or describe what you see, I want you to make sure that you have the dash date down. It is October 13th, 2020, 10/13/20. So you need to make sure that you have that dash date written down. You need to also make sure that you are on your painted lady larvae observation sheet, and then also the Wisconsin fast plant observation sheet. So I'm going to let you go ahead and draw or describe what you see and the changes that came from last time we met. Aren't our larvae getting so big? It's super exciting. They are about to change to their next stage in their development, and I am very thrilled to be seeing it. So we are going to go ahead and move on to our fossils activity for today. So when we're thinking about that term fossils, I'm pretty sure that most of you have seen or have heard about a fossil before in your life. We are talking a little bit about fossils today, so I wanted to go ahead and read you an article that I found on fossils. This says, Earth has gone through many changes over time. Mountains have formed and worn down. Oceans have developed and then vanished. Land masses have moved. Organisms have shown up, changed, and become extinct. Scientists called paleontologists look at fossils to learn how Earth and the organisms that live here have changed over time. Fossils are preserved trace of organisms that died a long time ago. Many fossils that are found are from tiny sea animals and casts of plants. Sometimes fossils of large animals like dinosaurs can be found. Most animal fossils are formed when the animal dies near a river, lake, or ocean. Soft parts such as skin and organs will rot. Hard parts of the animal like bones, teeth, or shell are covered by sediment, such as sand or clay. Over time, the sediment turns into sedimentary rock. The hard part of the animal leaves an imprint in the rock or replaced with minerals in the sediment. Erosion can cause the sedimentary rock to wear away and reveal fossils. I am going to go ahead and show you another page where we can kind of understand this a little bit more and the different steps that are involved. So here you can see I have a dead dinosaur, and I'm going to go ahead and move this time bar that's above me. You can see it says time and then it has this big blue line. So I'm going to go ahead and move this time bar, and you're going to watch as that rock and sediment gets layered and layered until it makes a lot of pressure and it gets those dinosaurs' bones. So here we go. This is that first layer. You can see it's being covered up a little bit by that sand and that sediment. You can see that the skin is being worn away, or those soft parts of the dinosaur, and we're getting some pressure on here to make some sedimentary rock. More pressure. It's getting covered with even more dirt and making that rock really hard, taking away those bones. Now we're going to start seeing that the rock is wearing away. You can see those cracks in the rock. This might be how it starts to erode, or that word erosion would mean that those rocks and that hard dirt is being kind of worn away. So that is when naturally someone like a paleontologist would be able to find the skeleton. This would be the moment where we as humans could find that skeleton by digging it up. So you can see that that is kind of the natural process of how fossils are made. You can see the animal dies, and then we find out how these fossils are made through layers and layers and layers of rock and pressure. So before we get started, I want to kind of take a look at some of those words that were in that article. I heard the word extinct, and I'm pretty sure that some of you know what that word means, but extinct means that there are no longer any family members of a certain organism that are living. So no family members, meaning that that family is totally gone from the earth. There are none of that creature living at all. That would be like that word extinct. Like we don't have any living dinosaurs on this earth. However, we might have some ancestors that might come from dinosaurs. So some animals might be sort of related to those dinosaurs, and they might be in their ancestry. That word ancestor means that there are members of the family that have lived a long time ago. We can have ancestors as humans, but also animals can have ancestors. So remember that that word extinct means that the family of organisms is no longer living. Then the word ancestors, we're talking about members of a family that lived a long time ago. Not like your grandparents. It would be more like your great-great-great-great-great-grandparents. And those would be your ancestors. So we are going to go ahead and look at some fossils and see how they relate to animals that are found today. Now that we've taken a good long look at this article and a little bit more about how fossils are made, we're going to talk a little bit about what fossils look like and how they can help us to understand the past and the present. So I'm going to go ahead and make this full screen, and you can see here that we have an activity to do. I'm going to make myself really little again, and you can see that we have an activity. This says study the fossil images below. Drag the images to the right place and explain why you think each fossil is ancestral to the present day organism. So the fossils are the ones that are like over here. We have these fossils over here. And the present day organisms are right over here on top. These are the organisms that we are going to drag. So I'm going to go ahead and get back in my corner, and I'm going to show you all of these different types of fossils. So we have a big old tooth. We have some sort of plant, maybe? There looks like maybe a fish. That also looks like a plant. And then we've got some sort of maybe shell. It's a swirling sort of pattern. So we are going to make some similarities and differences and spot which organisms, which present day organisms, go with these older versions of them, their ancestors. So I'm thinking that this one here might be a shark tooth. So I'm going to go ahead and pull down this shark as an example of its current relative. So this is what its ancestor might have had, and then its current relative. This tooth to me seems very large, and we have been talking about the megalodon in my class, so I find that kind of funny. But this says, I think this fossil is the ancestor to this present day organism because, and I'm going to put, it looks like a shark tooth. I'm gonna put, it looks like shark tooth, just bigger. Then I see that I have some sort of plant, maybe, that looks like maybe a stem. Looking at this picture, oh, I think that one might have gone with something like this because of the way the leaves are shaped. I'm gonna go ahead and drag that one down here. So I have this type of fern fossil, and then I have its present day plant here. I'm gonna put, because the shape of the leaves is similar. Ooh, typing hard today. Alrighty, so the shape of the leaves is similar. It looks like these leaves might be slightly smaller and that these leaves might have grown a little bit, but I can definitely see an ancestral resemblance, which means that they look very similar. Then, I'm assuming this is my only other plant, so I'm going to go ahead and drag this one down here. But I'm not quite sure that that's working right yet. So I'm going to make sure by looking at these two photos and figuring out the other ones before I do that one. I see this sort of fish here, and it looks a lot like this older fish. This one I'm thinking goes with this. And then... I see the swirling shell pattern. So I think this one might be a current day relative of this older fossil. Interesting. That looks all right to me. So I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and type in what I think of this one. I think this fossil is the ancestor to this present day organism because then I also see this fish and I'm thinking that it has a similar shape. This fish has a similar shape and then a fin on top, just like its ancestor. As you can see, I use this word similar very often because just like we talked about traits, ancestors have given their traits and passed them down, just like we talked about with parents and offspring. These ancestors are the parents' parents' parents of you, or of these fish, or of these plants. So, we are talking about these ancestors and how they would be similar. I see this spiral shell shape. They have a similar spiral shell shape. So, we have noticed that these fossils are very similar to what we might see in each one of these new present-day organisms. So we have talked about some important characteristics from older fossils to their newer, younger versions of themselves. These would be the ancestors over here to the present-day organisms that we see now. So fossils are just coming from ancestral organisms. We talked about today, our learning target. I can explain information fossils tell us about past and present organisms. Today we talked about fossils and how they can relate to our generation and things that we find today. That is all for our science video today. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.